Alright, so welcome back again. My name is Jesse, and then in this wonderful and exciting tutorial, we're trying to see how to create users and groups in Linux. So by the end of this tutorial, you see how to create users, how to create a group, how to add a user to a group, how to create passwords with users, and then the rest, right? So let's see what we're doing. So first of all, to be able to create a user, you must most of the time be a root user or have some privileges, right? So that is the first step. Then you can create a user directory, right? Or you can also create a user without a directory, right? So you create a user that has a home directory or home folder, and then you can also create a user that doesn't have a home directory or home folder. And you can also assign users to a group, and you can also check all the processes that are being done by a particular user. So let's see how to check your user ID and then how to create a user and the rest. So I'll go back again to my workspace here, and then in case you want to know the current user that is logged in, just go with who. You can just go with who am I. So who am I is going to list the current user here, and most of the time it will be the first name after the before the @ so JCharis, right? That is the person that is logged in. In case I want to see the ID of this particular person, ID, and this is going to give me the ID of the current logged in user, which is the user ID and the group ID. So my user ID for JCharis is 1000, the group ID is also 1000, and then these are some of the other groups that I belong to, right? So I belong to all of these groups, right? You can see that I belong to a sudo group, right? Very cool. So that is one of the ways of checking who you are and then your ID. You can also check using W, and W is going to list all the processes that are being done by this current user, right? So this current user is called JCharis, and then now he's not doing anything but just in the shell, right? That is a basic understanding. Okay, so let's move on from here and let's see whether you have the right to create a user. So I've already seen that you have sudo privileges, so I can also switch and see my privileges. So sudo -l, and now this is going to ask for your password. In case you ask for your password, you just enter your password. It's going to give you this information. So you're saying that user JCharis, which is my user, which is the same name here, right, may run the following commands in this particular option. So because I have sudo privileges, so I can run all commands here, right? So this is one of the ways of knowing if you have sudo privileges. Perfect. Now let's move on from here and let's see how to create a user. So how do you create a user? So first, to create a user, just go with sudo, then user, add, then the name of the user. So let's keep the name John. If I go with this, it's going to create a user called John. And in case I want to know if this user was created, I can list all the users. So how do you list all the users? To list all the users, just go with this option. So cat, then /etc, then /password. So password, so this is going to list all my information on the password, right, which may be sensitive, but I can still show it. And then we have \, right? Then I can just go with cat, then -d. I want to cut the columns, the first delimiter, and then I can specify that, okay, when I cut it, I want to get the first row. So now it's going to list the first row from my column, and now you can see that John was created, right? So that is how to list all the users on your system using this simple command, right? So everything on etc, right, password is all the users, right? So all the different users. So have a lot of programs that have created their own user account, right? So that is why it is quite a lot. And then I took the first column and I got this, right? So let me explain why I took the first column. If I run the entire stuff like this, which is not the best option to run, so cat /etc password. If I run it like this, you can see that it has a lot of information, right, which are sensitive, but yeah, it has a lot of information. So the first one here is the user, right? So that is the first one. The first column here, the first one before this semicolon is a user, and this is the ID of the user, right, which is 0. So 0 is root user, and then this is the main folder of that particular user, and this is the bash or the particular type of shell, right, this person have. So how do I know that this is the right one? If I go back here and I switch to sudo su, this is the root user, I've switched, and if I check the ID, you can see that the ID here is 0, right, 0, 0. The group ID is also 0, that is this one, right, perfect. So this information here is the user, their specific ID, right, for the user ID, for the group they belong to, and then this is the home directory, and this is the particular bash this particular user has access to. So that is the same information that they are getting from here. So that is why I cut this first one. Okay, so let's go back. As you can see, I have a lot of user. I was using next, so there are a lot of stuff there. Okay, let's create another user. So that is how to list all users. So this, and then just go with cut to get the first delimiter, which is going to be my -d. I want to cut -f1, and then we have these ones there. So let's edit from here and let's create our another user, right? So I've created another user. So in case I want to create another user that has a home directory, right, you can just go back again. This user now that we've created doesn't have a home directory. In case I want to switch to this user, it's not going to have another one. So let's create one user. So user add -m to create a home directory, and then let's give it as Jesse. Right. If I click on this, it's now going to create another user that has a home directory. And if I go back and I check it out, so now John was created, Jesse was also created. Right. Perfect. If I switch from here to my home, and I check it out, you see that we have only Jesse's folder was created, right? Only Jesse's folder was created. So if you use the -m, it's going to create a home, a directory inside your home, right, for this particular user. But if you don't add the -m, you don't have that particular folder created, right? But you can create it later on. Perfect. Now, how do you switch to a user? So in case I want to switch to a user, how do I do that? So just go with sudo, right? And now just go with su dash, then I'll specify that, okay, I want to switch to this particular user called Jesse. Because Jesse has a folder, if I go with this, now I'm already in this particular home directory. If I list it out, so pwd, you can see that I'm inside home, I'm inside Jesse, right, which is here. Perfect. And now I can move into this home, which is the same place I am, Jesse, which is nothing here. I can make a directory called documents, and then if I list it out, you see that we have document there, right? Perfect. So this is how to switch to a particular user. So now let's get out of here. Perfect. So that is how to add a user, and also add a user or create a user that has a directory. The third method of creating a user is just go back to your show apps, you go to your settings, right? Or you can just go to users, right? In your terminal, users, and now you can see that all the users I created, JCharis, that's the main account, Jesse, the new one, John, that was also created, all have their account here, right? Perfect, right? And you can also do the same thing I did in the GUI. So in case I want to create a user, I have to be this user, right? And in case I want to create a new user, I can just go back again and have to unlock it, sign up, right? Enter in my password, and now I have the sudo privilege. JCharis has sudo privilege. I can add a new user. So let's give it a name as, let's say, Mary. And now Mary is just a standard user. It's going to ask, okay, allow users to set a password when they next log in. Okay, you can set a password now, or you can just tell them to, when they log in, they should set a password. And you can also add some stuff. You can make the person administrator, then add. Perfect. So now Mary has been created. He doesn't have administrative privilege. You can also give him admin privileges by clicking on this, which is very simple. Perfect. And you can also remove the user, right? You can also edit the username in case you want, and you can also move on. So let's move on straight away from here. So now we have 3 users, Mary, John. If I go back to my terminal and then I check it out here, so we have JCharis, Jesse, and Mary, but John doesn't have a directory, right? So if you use a GUI, you're going to get the directory out of the box. So these are the 3 main methods you can create a user on Linux, right? Perfect. Now let's see how to create groups. So how do you create a group in Linux? So I'll just go back again, and then to create a group, just go with my sudo, right, group add, right, group add, and I can just give it a particular group name. So let's give it a very nice name, so we can just call them out. So create editors or editors group. We have created a group called editors. Let's create another group called reviewers. Let's say you have a blog system, so we have 2 groups. We have the editors group and you have the reviewers group, right? So how do you list all your groups? So to list all the groups, you can just go back with this and then just go with cat, then the same thing we did, etc, and then you also have groups, right? So there's nothing like group. It's supposed to be this option. It's supposed to be cat group, not groups. So etc group. If I go with this, now we see that we have the editors group, we have the reviewers group, and by default, if you create a user, automatically a user also has their own group. That's why we have all of these groups here, right? So using cat etc is also going to another way of showing your groups. And also you can see that we have a new number here. So this particular number is the editor's ID, right? As you can see. Perfect. Now the second method of getting all the groups on your system, just go with group. If I go with groups, rather, I always make the mistakes. If I go with groups, it's going to list the groups of the current logged in user, right? So JCharis belongs to all of these groups, right? Which is the same thing that we did here. Remember that when I did my ID, we had sudo. So these are all the groups that I had: JCharis, admin, cd-rom, dips. All of these things are the same thing that have been listed here, right? So if you type in groups like this, you list all the members of that particular, of the current logged in user, right? But in case you also want to list all the groups, just go with get ent, then group, right? If I go with this, the same thing that we did is going to list all the groups that we created. So we have editors and reviewers, right? And all the other groups we have on our system, right? There are a lot of groups on the system. Perfect. We have seen how to add a group, how to view your group using 2 different approach, right? Using 2 different approach, using this option here, and then using the cat, right? So you have seen using the cat to also see your groups, right? So these are the 2 methods. Now there's another way you can also list all them. How do you list all the members of a particular group, right? So to list all the members of a group, as we saw, we had the reviewers group, we have editors group, we have a lot of groups. Now I want to first of all add users to a particular group and list all of them. So let's add a user to sudo, right? And I can just add that particular user to a group, which is this option here. I want to add a user to a group, so I want to add Jesse, right, to a group called editors. So sudo, right, and then just go to user mode, right? User mode means that I want to change the mode of Jesse. I want to add Jesse to a particular group. Then I'll just go with -ag, then the group name that I want to add, which is editors, and then the person that I want to add, which is Jesse. So now Jesse is part of the editors group. So if I go back again and I check out my get end, you can see that here we have Jesse here, right? So Jesse has been added to the editors group. Perfect. I can also add, let's add Mary to it. And if I go back and I refresh, then we also have Mary. So Mary has also been added to the group. So that is how to add users to a particular group, right? Now, if I list the group, if I want to know all the members of a particular group, I can also do the same thing. So this is going to be my get entity. Then I'll go with my group, and I'll specify the group name, which is editors. So if I go with editors, now you see we have all of this. We have Jesse and we have Mary, which were added to this particular group, right? Very simple. That is one of the ways. So this is how to list all members of a group. There's also another package called members. So sudo apt get install members, which is another package that you can use to check to add members to a particular group. I hope it is already installed. If I go with members, help, yeah, I already have members installed. And with members, you can show all primary members, secondary members, and the rest. So I can also check for the members. So the first one we did was this here, in case I want to check for the members of editors group. So members, editors, I hope it's correct. Members group, hope editors is supposed to be members, and then the group, so editor. And now see that we have Jesse and then Mary, which is the same thing we have in here, Jesse and then Mary, right? So this is another way you can list all the members of a group on your system. Now we have seen most of these methods. We have seen how to create a user, how to create a group, how to add a user to a group. Now let's see how to create a user with a password, and let's see how to delete them. So I'm going to create a user with a password. So it's going to be sudo, right? Then user add, then -m, right? So -m is going to create the folder. So let's give it one as my Peter. Perfect. And in case I want to create a password, I'll just go with the same thing, sudo, right? And I'll just go with ps password, then the name of the user, which is Peter. Then it's going to ask for you to type the password for Peter. So the password for Peter is Peter12. It's a bad password, yeah. So retype a new one. So Peter123. Sorry, password do not match, right? So it's going to ask you a lot of questions, but let's make it simple. So, let's make it 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Password, yeah. So see, so that is one of the ways, right? So it's going to ask you a lot of questions. So yeah, I just have to think about the password, right? So yeah. So it doesn't match, right? So that is one of the ways. So let's skip. We don't want to create it now. So that is one of the ways of creating a user with a password. So yeah, we have stopped it, right? So you just specify the user that you create, then you just go with this option to add your password, right? But we don't want to just go through the typing of the password, right? That is how to create a user with a password. Now we want to see all the processes that are being done by a particular user. So in case you want to see all the processes that are being done by a particular user, how do you do that? So if I go back again, and in case I want to see that, I can just go with my ps, right, -u, right, for the effective user. Then I'll specify the name of the person. So let's specify the name of, let's say, Peter. So it's 0 because Peter exists, but he's not doing anything. If I do the same thing for John exists, but it's not doing anything. But let's move to this side, and then let's switch to Mary, right? So sudo -su, then let's switch to Mary. So it's asking for the password. So this password is, the reason it's asking for the password is that, remember when we were creating a user here with Mary, it told us that anytime we go to Mary, we should set the password, right? That is why it is asking for the password here, right? But let's skip from here, and then use someone that doesn't have a password. So we go with let's go with Jesse, right? And now we have already moved to Jesse. If I go back and I list things there, we have documents. If I go to something like Python, Python does not exist for Jesse, right? If I do ls la, right, now if I go back and I do the same thing for Jesse, so that now we have an sh, because I have switched to Jesse and Jesse is using the shell, right? sh, right? He's using the shell, so that process that he is doing is shown here, right? So that's one of the ways you can usually actually check what someone is doing or what a particular user's program list or process list is, right? So with this, you can show all the processes that are being run by this particular user. If I do sudo or something else, it should be picked up, right? So I can also do the same thing, Jesse, and we have capital U for the effective. So one is the normal user activity and the other one is also the same thing, right? That is how to list all the processes that are being done by a particular user. So we have seen how to create users. Now let's see how to delete activities from delete users, right? So that we'll be done with our task. So in case I want to delete any of these users, so let's edit from Jesse, and I want to delete a user. So we want to list all the users that we have first. So to list, as you saw, just cut etc, and then we had the passwords to get all the list of users. So we have all our users here. Perfect. We could also do members. Then you just specify the name, editors, to show that we had one. We also had another one called reviewers, which there was none there. So it's empty, right? So in case I want to delete all the user like Jesse, I can just go with my user or sudo user del, right? So use sudo user del, and then I will just go with -r because Jesse had a folder, right? If I go back to /home, you see that Jesse had a folder here. So in case I want to delete Jesse and delete the folder again, I just go with r, so to remove the directory that Jesse have, and I'll go with Jesse. And now it has removed Jesse together with the folder, right? So if I go back and I check it out, so the folder Jesse is no more there and the user Jesse is no more there. So if I go back to my editors, Jesse is also no more there, right? So it removes from all of them. Perfect. Now let's do the same thing without removing the folder for Peter. And now the user called Peter is gone. If I check the directory, Peter's directory is still there. So if you don't specify the -r, all of Peter's information and documents are still there. So in organizations, that in case you want to track and keep track of all the users' documents, you don't use the R, you just delete the user, so that all the users' information that the person used, company data, is still preserved, right? Okay, that is how to delete user. There's another option of sudo del user, right, that you can also use. So just change the same way, and then you just specify, let's say I want to do the same thing for Mary, so -r Mary, hope it works. So for using del user, right, you have to specify this option here, right? You have to specify not just R, but all of them. So I want to remove all of the home directory of Mary. So in that case, it's going to be this, to remove home. And now it's gone. If I list, Mary is no more there. If I check the editors, Mary is no more there. So that is how to delete users, right? So we have the user del and then the del user. We also have user add and add user, which you can also use, right? So that is the basic overview of what you have done so far. So thank you for watching. So you have seen how to create users in 3 different methods. You have seen how to check the process of a user. You have seen how to create groups, how to delete groups. We have also seen how to add people to groups. We can also delete a group. So let's see how to delete a group. Finally, to delete a group, just go with this option. So sudo, then group del, then the name of the group was editors, and it's gone. If I list this, it does not exist because it has been deleted, right? That is one of the ways of deleting groups. Perfect. So thank you for watching. See you in the next session. Stay blessed. Bye. So you have seen how to do all of these activities in this tutorial. I hope you got something. I hope it was very structured in your mind. Apologies for how it went. Thank you for watching. There's also a cheat sheet which I'm going to put on the comment section below so that I can also check it out, or the description section below. See you another time. Stay blessed. Bye.